I think it's a time where people start thinking about everyone else's as a competitor, and I think you have a word for that. I will not try to say it. Is it
Collaborator? Yes, that's exactly right.
That's not for me. Anyway, so I don't want to try that. No,
That's
that's the
not
moment where
English.
you're gonna make
That's
fun
not
of
English,
my.
so don't worry about
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna make fun of my English today if
it.
I do that. But
Not at
so
all. Welcome to the Media Odyssey. That is Marion Ranchet.
And this is Shapiro.
And this week on our second episode of the Media Odyssey, we will be making our predictions for 2025. We will be making 5 predictions this week and 5 predictions next week. And each of us will have 10. You ready for this? I don't know what order you put yours in. I put mine in just kind of a random order of preparedness, actually, to talk about them. Okay, good.
No order whatsoever.
All right. So 2024, which we talked about last week, was a year of big change in the media universe. And I think we both anticipate a year of great change next year. So why don't you start with your first prediction, not number 1, not number 10, but your first prediction for 2025.
Okay, it's YouTube. Yeah, so surprising. No, but it's been an insane year, right? We've seen them break the 10% on the Nielsen gauge, and so I think that next year that's going to grow even faster. Expect that they're going to break the 15%. I'm bullish on this. Let's see. But behind this, what I see happening is 2 things. When everyone is running to grow their advertising business, these guys who have a very stable ad business are actually going to double down on premium. And that doesn't necessarily mean, just bringing YouTube TV outside of the US or anything like that, but it's more building more and more premium features into YouTube to actually empower creator-led streamers and YouTube channels to make that move between having an ad-only business to having an hybrid business. So that's my prediction for next year. And we've started seeing them building that type of features. I think they're going to go even further. And so they're going to be a threat to both premium and ad-supported competitors, essentially.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is that I think premium really does have to be seen in the eye of the beholder, the viewer.
That's true.
And so depending on how you look at it, as long as it's on a television screen, it is, I think, considered by the viewer as a premium content.
That's true. Yeah.
I too am glad you started with your YouTube prediction, because I also have my prediction for YouTube for 2025 is that 2025 will be the year of YouTube on TV. It had a big year on TV this year. There's no question about it. It reached 10% more than any other individual channel on Nielsen's gauge. It's also a massive number on the ComScore score that I did. And so I would argue it's probably the largest television channel on the planet, bigger than Netflix, bigger than anything else. What's interesting is they just dropped a ton of data about themselves on TV. So this really reinforces your prediction about thinking of themselves as a premium environment. There are 1 billion hours of YouTube watched on television every day. There are 1 billion hours of YouTube watched on the TV every single day.
Say it again.
And so, well, I think it's hard to get your head around that, because you want to say, oh, no, you mean on YouTube? No, on YouTube, on the TV. So in the US, I think it's over 60% of the usage is now on television. You see a tremendous amount in their report about themselves, which is very convenient. YouTube talked about there are a number of YouTubers, people who make their living from YouTube, who now see a sizable share of their revenue coming from TV and not from mobile or from desktop. And so, then you look into their investment in NFL Sunday Ticket. You look at the fact that there are 100 million plus now YouTube premium subscribers. You look at them as the largest kids channel by far on the face of the earth, which is a massive part of their business. And a big part of their television usage is, 4-quadrant watching or 2-quadrant watching, at least parents and kids watching together, or parents, nannies and kids, depending on how you look at it. And I think, that's only going to continue. You're also seeing Netflix take from YouTube and emulate YouTube. So you have Jake Paul getting paid $40 million to basically promote Netflix on YouTube and bring 100 million people to watch that concurrently on Netflix. And then they licensed The Sidemen the next week, which was a series that started by the Sidemen, the creators, on YouTube, that they're licensing in the second season for their platform. So I think YouTube on television it was a big story this year. I think it's going to be, if not the biggest story of next year, then a top 3 story very easily. The good news is that prediction was for both of us. So we each got through one there very quickly because we agreed on perhaps our top prediction for the year. So now it's back to you, actually. What's your next prediction for the year?
I feel that Netflix should be doing more. As the leading streaming service in subscriber number, I feel that they are cruising. I'm not seeing a lot of innovation, whether that it's the content or, the way that they surface their service. I would say that what is always the most impressive thing to me is the marketing. I mean, it's just insane. Like for the new season of Squid Game, they actually partnered with a YouTuber, Inoxtag, which is a French YouTuber, and they did some sort of a happening on the Champs-Élysées, right, which is the biggest avenue in France. So my prediction is almost a wish, is that I want Netflix to be more innovative next year, and I think that they should let more people in the sense more brands. I want to see more partnership. I want them to become more of a hub. I feel like I'm coming at a point where I could do without it, right? Don't quote me on this. But so my prediction for next year is I want to see them somehow bring, third-party services within that ecosystem and really become that, home of television, right? So, yeah.
It's interesting. They did an interesting partnership on Squid Games with Duolingo, which I think will wind up being a really good promotional campaign for them, but I think also really lucrative. I think they're being paid by Duolingo a decent amount of money. It's really innovative. It's the Duolingo owl doing a dance of a famous song in Squid Game outfits. It's really good, and it's getting millions of views online on TikTok and on YouTube. So I do think,
but again, that's marketing.
Well, and sale. And sale. I have to credit them. I give them a lot of shit for how poorly they've run their ad sales efforts since launching it, which they were surprised to hear from their CEO that it was launching. And so, in this case, I think that they found a way to make money off channel to a certain extent, because the ad impressions on channel just aren't there yet. They're just not commensurate with what they're selling out in the marketplace. I have heard a great deal that users are frustrated with the lack of innovation from their programming in particular. And if you look at this past holiday season, they basically stole Hallmark's movie strategy from them, literally note for fucking note. And that's fine. That's a great idea. And their other big idea is to take Amazon's sports strategy and employ it on Christmas Day. So they're taking the Black Friday thing that Amazon's now done for 2 years, and they're doing it on Christmas Day, and they're doing a Beyonce concert. It's a great idea, but your point from innovation standpoint, they're acting very much like a broadcast television network, to be blunt. They have wrestling, they have football, golf, and it's working. They're the biggest television channel, premium television channel on the face of the earth. If they want to be in the advertising business and they want to try to your point, continue to innovate, I think I agree with you. I think that would be do you think it's going to happen? Is that a prediction? You said it's a wish. Do you think they'll do it?
I think they have so much going on. I'm not sure it's going to happen next year. I want it to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen next year.
Sometimes we make predictions as wishes.
I think next year for sure they will focus on sports a lot more, and it could be that the rest is kind of on the back burner. But let's see. Looking to be surprised.
Yeah. So my next prediction, again, not in any order, is it's something we know is going to happen, but I'm going to lean into it as a trend. So there's going to be a major reconfiguration of the entire entertainment ecosystem next year. And, there are three very obvious case studies that I can offer to demonstrate what's about to happen. So Comcast spinning out its cable companies, which I call Cable Town, Warner Brothers Discovery, or as I call them, Disco Brothers or Disco Bros, spinning out what many in the memes have called Shitco, which I apologize to the people who work there, but that is what it's been called. And then also Paramount being bought by Skydance / Oracle. And so those are the three obvious things we know are going to happen next year. I think to lean even harder into them, I think that's not even maybe even the first or last transaction that's going to happen to Disco Brothers. I think they will be sold in various different forms. I think that there's a very good chance that the Peacock, or actually the NBC Universal cable channels, they also get purchased by somebody as opposed to simply just spinning out on their own. I think big tech might be interested in that. I think Netflix is likely to make an acquisition of some sort next year. They have cash. They really need answers in advertising, and I think there are ways to enhance their advertising business. Or other elements, like gaming is something they obviously think is a thing. I think there are obvious acquisitions to go out and make that can help accelerate their business there. So I think we'll see many more other examples of reconfiguration next year. I also don't think, it's unexpected, to see Microsoft, now that they're done swallowing Activision, look for things in the living room to expand into. An OEM, television OS. I think also equally NVIDIA has all this cash on hand. I don't know what future plans they have. They're obviously doing incredibly well right now. Their chips are incredibly in demand, but I don't know that that's an endless cycle. Right. And I think look for them to look for ways to get into gaming and or the living room in a different way.
I quite like the idea of Microsoft getting into the OS business because, what's up with that, right?
Well, they are actually,
but not in the TV one, right? Not in the TV OS business.
But Xbox is a platform. It's not a lot of people, but there are people who watch TV and streaming services on their Xbox. And so to a certain extent, at one point, they were a big use case for streaming television, and you designed for Xbox kind of right out of the box.
Yes.
Now that's less so the case. But you could see now that they're gaming, they're so solidly in the top 3 gaming companies on Earth, and they really don't have a major threat. Sony obviously is big, and Nintendo is obviously big, but they're not under any threat from those companies. I think expanding in the living room that was my company, and granted, they're the second most valuable company in the history of humankind, so they shouldn't necessarily listen to me, but that feels like a next obvious move to me. Yeah. Your next prediction?
So my next prediction is more hard bundles. I think when I look at streaming, they did that to themselves. Let me explain. Everyone is looking at churn and thinking, oh my God, except for Netflix, who's around 2%, but everyone else is in between 3 and 10, if not more. And that's because the Netflix model was, you can come in, you can cancel anytime, except that like any business, you need to have some sort of, revenue predictability, which they do not have. And they have to spend more and more money. And so I've been seeing more bundles in Europe. Granted that, the pay TV business here is in a better shape than in the US, but seeing a lot of hard bundles where I'll give you the example of Canal Plus, which is maybe the French Comcast, or to give a comparison, or the French Sky. These guys, for the past year and a half, they've had Apple TV Plus hard bundled, right? So you sign up to Canal Plus and you have Apple TV Plus, boom, there. So for Apple, makes a lot of sense. It's, almost 10 million subs from day one versus having to work hard to get those new subs. Plus, A lot of those packages are, 12 to 24 months long, etc. And, actually a lot of people are staying, they don't share churn numbers, but they're saying they have a lot of loyal subs. I'll put in the show notes if I can find some data on that. In September, they've added Paramount Plus. In
What did they add?
December,
Sorry, what did they add?
Paramount Plus
Okay.
is actually now hard bundled as well in Canal Plus. In December, if you're, a Canal Plus subscriber, you're getting 30% off Apple Music, right? So a lot of those things to make sure that you're building content around broadband, pay TV packages, mobile, you name it, right? Things that are must have for you. And then the content comes on top. So I'm expecting a lot more of those deals for most of the streamers. And I would say especially in Europe, because, pay TV is still, quite strong.
Well, and in Europe, a lot of these companies are also telecoms. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a nice hardwired bundle component.
100%.
If you can provide mobile, that's Charter and Comcast in the US, their only growing segments are their mobile segments.
Yeah.
Broadband is flat or down, and video is obviously cratering. So yeah, I think providing bundles around lifestyles and a suite of services that includes utility in particular is going to continue to be a trend. But I think it's a great prediction. I wish I predicted something around TV, not dissimilarly, but not exactly that. I wish I had chosen yours instead, because now you're going to sound smarter than me. Mine is a colliding of formats. So SVOD with ads, AVOD, FAST, Pay TV, all TVOD to a certain extent, although that'll still be its own business. Will all blend into much smoother continuums, bundles, to your point. That I think FAST as its own bespoke ecosystem, I think it will continue to exist. But for Roku, it's really a free area to sell advertising inside their larger operating system. I think that increasingly will become true for Samsung. But I think for the pay TV ecosystems, they're going to start to put a lot of free video on the front end that you don't have to be a subscriber, but we still have all your subscriber info. So we can now market to you. It's part of our first-party data stack. I think you'll see then that blended much more into the SVOD business and see those bundles continue to go out. Bundling those together with like Amazon Prime and Apple Music and Comcast Mobile or Charter Mobile, those are going to be, I think, the strongest bundles out there. So I think your prediction is 100% accurate. I think mine is the video product is going to start to realize that it's all one fucking product. Stop treating it like silos. The consumer wants one continuum between them all. They would prefer to have one bill to pay. You will lower churn if you take all the services you're selling right now and put them all on one bill for them. You don't have to even change the price. Churn will go down a little bit. If you can give them economies of scale because you're getting guaranteed subscribers, to your point, that will lower churn all that much more. And I think even the mighty Netflix is going to have to start looking. They're bundling now. They're bundling with Max and Verizon, I think, in the United States. They're in the Comcast bundle with other services as well. So I think you're right, and then I'm yes-anding your prediction.
100%. I think you're speaking to who's going to be that super aggregator, right?
Right.
And I've written at length about this, and I think there's a lot of prospect that could be big tech.
Right.
Broadcasters want to be that too. Pay TV want to be that
Amazon
too. Everyone,
Amazon and YouTube both have a channels business to sell other people's premium services.
Yeah.
And those are part of a larger strategy. There's no question. They also both have operating systems as well.
Okay, so my prediction number 4, you actually mentioned it. That was more free streaming on pay TV. So I'll go quick on this one. But again, that's what we've seen in the US, right? At a time where, people have many more options to watch video content. What can you offer on top to keep those subs? And I think a lot of that, retention tactics have been done in Europe. And I think the beauty of bringing free streaming on pay TV is that it's going to accelerate the fact that TV is going to become addressable. So, I'm having conversation right now where I see telecom operators, pay TV platforms, etc., keen to have free streaming, but technically right now they can't, right? I mean, if you want to be serving ads, it has to be baked in, etc. It's very much, the traditional way of doing things. Free streaming on pay TV, accelerates that move of TV into, the digital world. So even just for that, I think that's a fantastic next step for free streaming and pay TV together.
I agree. And I think, you've identified ways. When I've talked to DirecTV on camera, so I'm not breaking any confidences here, about their free streaming product, they believe that they're going to actually enhance the ARPU of both consumers, the paid subscriber and the free advertising supported subscriber, because of the environment and because of the combination of the two. It's longer length of stay. So I think that's absolutely true. I'm going to take it a step further, which is, I think you're going to see, this is another prediction, a maturation of the connected television world, and an important one that will actually help it in its imbalance from a spend standpoint with pure digital. So the amount of television advertising, the amount of advertising connected television gets is not commensurate with the amount of viewership it's getting. No. And that's because the measurement is not great. The audiences are very fragmented. And the buy-in is just awkward when compared to pure play digital media like Google and Meta and Amazon. One of the key components of that triumvirate is retail media, specifically on Amazon. So the more that connected television can emulate those big three, the better off it's going to wind up doing. I think retail media moving into television in the next year is one of those big indications that the money is going to begin to catch up, because now you're getting on Google and Meta and Amazon, you're getting a mix of traditional media, digital media, and retail media, a budget that television doesn't get any of right now, really, by comparison. In the US this year, the retail media budget for the spend is around $54 billion of it, $54 billion. 75% of that goes to Amazon. Worldwide, retail media was $140 billion in 2024. That's up 28%. The fastest growing segment of television, which is sight, sound, motion, is connected television. When you marry those two trends together, I think you're going to see a tremendous move forward in this arena, especially now that Amazon is selling television advertising in a big way. And frankly, because you have people like Trade Desk and Google and other companies investing heavily. Roku has put a tremendous amount of effort into their shoppable effort with partners like Shopify and other folks. And so I think you're going to see a heavy investment start in 2025 in retail media on connected television. And I think you're going to see that as a start of a major growth to a $9 billion a year industry just in the US by the end of this decade. So that is my fourth prediction. What is your fifth prediction for 2025, but not your last prediction for 2025?
Okay, the last one is it's concerning European broadcasters. What I've seen again this past year, a lot of innovation, a lot of partnerships, and that I love, right? So, and actually partnerships amongst themselves, which is already kudos, because in a given market, usually broadcasters are very much fighting for attention. And so may that be in Germany, where you see the two biggest commercial broadcasters doing an ad tech partnership. There's even, rumors about how they could potentially collaborate on programming, etc. And so for this year, for 2025, I'm hoping again, and I think I will be seeing a lot of partnerships between these guys, but also with streamers. Co-production. Again, someone like Netflix has the scale, the marketing firepower to make something happen. The local broadcasters have that, connection to the local audiences, cultural moments, etc. So I think it's a time where people start thinking about everyone else's as a competitor, and I think you have a a word for that. I will not try to say it. Is it
collaborator? Yes, that's exactly right.
That's not for me. Anyway, so I don't want to try that. No,
That's
that's the
not
moment where
English.
you're gonna make
That's
fun
not
of
English, so
my.
don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. You're gonna make fun of my my English today if I do that. But
Not at
so
all.
partnership on ad tech, on production, on distribution, and again amongst broadcasters, but also with streamers. And I will leave you with one example that happened this month. Again on the French market, when I was telling you in episode 1 that this was the year of France. It's actually Netflix and TF1 producing a daily soap show, right? So in Q2 next year, for 90 episodes or so, Netflix is going to have the first window. Then 5 days later, it's going to be on TF1, and so they're putting what the best of the tools has to offer, and putting this show out there, right?
Yeah, I'm going to yes and. This would be the second of the first 5 where we basically have a very similar, if not identical, prediction. But I want to say very clearly, we did not compare notes
Yeah,
on our
exactly. That's
prediction
quite
for
insane.
this year. But this is something that I have talked about a lot, which is, so I'm going to zoom back out and then come back to your prediction. Yeah. So Amazon and Netflix are the only 2 commissioners of series that are at pace prior to the strike. Yeah. The only 2. Everybody else is way down. And to be honest with you, even for Amazon and Netflix, they're moving a lot of money out of scripted and entertainment and into sports. And so what I predicted earlier this year was that you were going to see a lot more co-productions with even the big streamers, but especially Amazon and Netflix, for a couple of different reasons. It's really expensive to produce content locally all over the world. And I think Netflix can't necessarily afford to do that anymore. And I don't think Amazon really ever did that much. And so, but they know that they need to be local, but they're not going to have necessarily the same resources to spend on entertainment and scripted programming. The second part of that is they recognize the prominence and no changing to the prominence of the native broadcaster there. If they've handled their business correctly, they have an audience on all platforms and of all ages. Granted, they don't have the same advantage as all the streamers, but if Netflix is not going to compete directly with them, they can collaborate with them in a completely different way. So I agree. I think you're going to see a tremendous amount more co-production. I also agree that you'll see a lot more collaboration between big tech and the broadcasters, because I think they realize how much they need each other, to be blunt, in order to survive in the market. There's no way that YouTube can thrive in these markets all around the world if they don't have a high quality local content. And quality is now super important to them because of things we discussed earlier, which is their move to the television, their move into premium. And so they want more professionals to upload their stuff to their platform, including the public service broadcasters. In order to do that, they're going to have to be more collaborative than traditionally they have been. And I think that's true for Amazon and for Apple and everyone else as well. So I agree. And what a great note to end the first predictions episode is that we're in complete agreement. And not only did we not compare notes, but we came at it from different points of view. You from the European point of view and me from the North American point of view. And we met in the middle despite that.
Cool. Yeah. So on to next week's podcast, where we're going to have an additional 5 prediction each. Same thing, no order, no discussion
same
prior.
Outfit.
We promise.
We will have the same outfit.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
We will be wearing, for those people watching, yes, we will be wearing the same T-shirt. We're actually both wearing T-shirts.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for listening. Subscribe, share this with folks. Your newsletter, Marion, is called what?
Streaming Made Easy. How about yours, Evan?
Mine is called Media War and Peace. It is also on Substack like yours. Until next week, thanks for listening.
Thanks.